morning, afternoon, everybody. I think that most of you know him already, but this is here, Fran Alvarez. He's working with Alfresco since 2007. Well, we worked together, in fact, long time ago. Long time ago. So he really knows in deep Alfresco. So he will present one in a different way, in another point of view, data migration. So I hope that you will enjoy this talk.
Don't clap yet. Maybe you know this is too graphic to clap. Thank you very much, Christina. Yeah, thank you for joining the presentation. I'm going to be talking about migrating content in Alfresco. I've titled the talk "ETLRU in Alfresco" and always using an open source flavor, right? Because this is about what is our order of the day about. This is pretty much the agenda we are going to follow. I've been talking briefly about the ETL concept, then I will bring you an enhanced ETL approaching for migrating content into Alfresco, boom. Then I will put some name to the pieces that I've been talking in the approach, some conclusions, some Q&A. Yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm Fran Alvarez. I work as a technical architect in Ixus. I guess at this time you already know about Ixus. This is probably the slide with more text that I do have in here, but I couldn't miss any of the items or the prices that Ixus achieved in the last years. So, what is migration actually? Content migration. We have content somewhere else. We don't need this content there anymore, so we need to move it to the place we want it, right? So it's like we take some content somewhere, we put it somewhere else. You can say, yeah, easy. You can code a 6 lines main Java class, and we have everything done, right? We browse the directory, get the file, transform it to something that Alfresco understand, and we save it. Have anyone here tackle migration? Anyone? Any time? Yeah. Is that easy? Okay. So yeah. Again, I named the tag like ETLRU in Alfresco. Of course, don't try to find ETLRU in Google. It's not going to work. I just invented, but it's the action of applying ETL to extract and migrate content into Alfresco, right? And what's ETL? ETL is a technique mostly used in the business intelligence and data warehouse that aims for extracting content somewhere. The content is prepared to satisfy these system needs, then it's transformed, and then it's loaded in the case of the data warehousing to satisfy data warehousing needs, right? But in an Alfresco scenario, we can say that we extract information from file systems or any ECM, even a database, using either, I don't know, the APIs that the system provides or any other approach that you may take. Then we transform it to something that is understood by Alfresco, and then we load it into Alfresco with that format. We're talking about bulk import formats, CMIS formats, or JSON if you want to use a custom service, or some Alfresco out-of-the-box service, right? Cool. So now we have the process. Basically, it's a pipeline. You extract content, everything as a whole block. Do we want to run it sequentially and having all these intermediate states in memories? Do we want to separate every document as a chunk? Do we want to go synchronous, asynchronous? There are some architectural questions that we need to ask. And this is probably the most challenging part of undertaking a migration. Because of this lack of questions that we normally ask, these are some problems that normally happens when a migration is taken. The whole content is managed as a single block, so either everything works fine or it will fail. When something fails, we cannot easily understand what happened, what went wrong, whether we can identify some patterns in the errors. Sometimes we just wait that everything works magically, that we don't have network problems, that the applications are not going to collapse, that we will not have memory leaks. And when there are dependency between data, we don't take this as a very important matter. And in the end, it's managed as an additional requirement that we bring to the migration. It's poorly managed, right? For solving these architectural problems, we use the enterprise integration patterns. Has anyone heard about enterprise integration patterns? Yeah. Has anyone used enterprise integration patterns? Okay, you guys send me your CVs later on, please. Yeah, so enterprise integration patterns are a catalog of design patterns, of course, whose aim is how to call it? It's difficult to explain, right? But basically, applications, when you have to integrate applications, you have to take in consideration several things, right? Like these applications have different nature, they probably have different languages, they have to rely in the network to exchange data. So enterprise integration pattern provides a catalog of repetitive solutions that have been demonstrated like they work. And yeah, you can use it to tackle your problem when you have to integrate different applications. We could be talking about this for a very long time, but unfortunately I have only 20 minutes. So yeah, I recommend you to have a look to these enterprise integration patterns. I put a link in my slides, so if you want further information. Yeah, so this is the ETL concept, but now let's bring some more capabilities to the migration infrastructure architecture that we are setting up. This is a typical assumption that we normally make when we tackle migrations, that is that either in the dry runs or in the actual migration rollout, a content is not going to fail, right? Everything is going to be perfect. And this, of course, is something that is not going to happen, right? It's very difficult that you plan ahead all your cases that you have for your data and code it properly. It's very easy that the network don't fail at any time, that you don't get hard disk full capacity problem, for example. Plenty of things can happen, right? So it's very important to add the air of reporting to the ETL, right? Because it's very important to understand what was wrong, when, how long the migration or the dry run take in order to be able to plan ahead your actual data migration rollout. So reporting and understand what happened and how it happened is very important as well. Another assumption that we take is that in all the migration process, the migration is going to be driven and conducted by a super DevOps guy, that he will create graphics or charts from daily logs, etc. This is not going to happen. You know, in the end, this is about business, and business needs to be somehow implicated in the migration. And if you can provide them, you know, with visual information about how the migration is going or what went wrong, in order, you know, for the UAT users to see whether there is some pattern in the files that failed. That's also a very important plus for your system, right? So bringing them a simple and easy to understand web application with, you know, fancy reports, the customer will appreciate it, right? Okay, so I've been talking about different concepts, these are different things. I think it's now time to put them all together. And of course, relying on open source. Basically, I'm bringing some technologies that use probably the two most important open source foundations in the world, Apache and Spring. And yeah, this is what we are going to talk about now. So we've been saying that we need an architecture, a harness that will support all this exchange of data, that will support whatever failure that we can have. We need something to orchestrate everything, right? We need something that is the master here doing or allowing everything else, acting as a framework, right? So for the orchestration, we use Apache Camel. Apache Camel, for those who don't know what it is a rule-based routing and mediation engine. This is how they define. You can configure different routes and saying how and when the content moves from or the message or whatever from one point to another. And a very important thing is that they have fully implemented enterprise integration patterns. It's Java-based, and you can code the Camel recites in either Java, XML, or Scala, right? So they provide different languages for you to do it. This is a typical example of Apache Camel. You have some files in folder A. You want to move the XML files to the folder B. And this is how it works from the Java DSL and from the XML DSL. Also, to demonstrate you that they have implemented the EIP capabilities. This is probably one of the more simple patterns. Is the splitter. You have a message, an entity that you can divide and you can treat separately. So this is how it works, right? It will, in this case, you have probably an XML with different order entries. So you separate them, treat them as individually, and probably this will come together with another pattern called aggregator that will put all the outcomes of these individual pipelines together. Something very cool that Apache Camel has as well is the concept of components. You can have out of the box integration with different components like Amazon S3, Amazon SQS, Activity, MongoDB, Google Drive, JMS, Quads. There are I think there are 60 maybe. So it's very cool. So you can easily integrate different applications in a very smooth way, right? So it's a very nice technology, right? So we have the harness now. Now we need to extract content from the source repository. This is going to be probably the most ad hoc task, since the source repository can be anything. Of course, if the repository supports semis, maybe you can use semis, but what if you need to extract, I don't know, users or any other content that semis wants? So yeah, probably in this moment you will have to implement your custom services and bring it to Apache Camel as an additional service. In this case, open source cannot be guaranteed, right? Because if the repository where you have the content is proprietary, there's nothing you can do, but you can always blame the customer for being proprietary in the past. Same with transform, right? Maybe if you are able to load and get the intermediate data readable by Alfresco, you can skip this transform. obviously, you will need to transform when you have data dependency, that when you need to update links from one content to another. And yeah, this can be another ad hoc task to do. But for example, for the load, we highly recommend to use the Alfresco bulk import. It works very nicely. I guess most of you guys have been working with the Alfresco bulk import. Maybe you will need to do some modifications, but you know, since it's open source, you can go ahead. Ideally, you wouldn't do it because everything has been done properly in the transformation part, but yeah, you can always do it. Okay. For reporting, what do? We have a separate Apache Camel root that basically logs everything in a system. What is this system? Well, we wanted to have a NoSQL database so we can able to write rapidly and then we can consume data easily. So we choose MongoDB. You know, maybe you can use something else, but for us, MongoDB works very well. It's cross-platform. It works very well. There are plenty of documentation in the internet. And yeah, for example, for every single document, we store the ID, the status of the content, whether something happened, a reason that could be a stack trace, could be a custom message, whatever. And this is, for example, how a report would look like with the MongoDB data, right? So you can have, for every execution, different failures or different criteria that you have. For this, you wanted to have a web application that allows customers to see how the migration went, how the migration is going, or try to see how the timing went, different use cases. Maybe you want to provide API access as well if you want to run it, I don't know, via the terminal. Yeah, you can also secure it. You can put logins because maybe you don't want all the users to see the same. And you want, of course, not to get too much overcomplicated in the deployment, so you want something that it's easy to deploy for solving all these. Oops. Sorry. Yeah. So for solving all these constraints, or these criteria, we have used. Oh, well, here it says high charts, right? It's a bit gray. Sorry, it's not my fault that their icon is a bit crappy. Anyway, yeah, we used a combination of 3 technologies: Apache Spring Boot, Twitter Bootstrap, and HighChart. They work very well together. I guess you already know Spring Boot, right? Does anyone know Spring Boot? Okay, you should try. It's well, we work with Alfresco, so the Spring framework should be very known for us. So it allows to create standalone Spring applications. Yeah, it's quite simple and it really rocks. Also, you can integrate any other non-Spring component as Apache Camel as you would do with the Spring framework. For Bootstrap, it's HTML, a simple and friendly and adaptable and flexible HTML JavaScript framework. And for HighCharts, you are able to create different kind of charts in a very, very easy way and with reasonable results. Okay, this is the whole picture, right? So you will have content there that you will end up having here in Alfresco. For this, you will use the extract service to get some intermediate data, which is extracted data. Then you will transform it, and you will have the transformed data that is readable by the Alfresco bulk import. Then you will move it there. For doing this, users will be able to still go to the original repository, then go to Alfresco, and they will be able to see what is going on in terms of the migration, because they will be able to check what is logging, what is being logged in MongoDB. This architecture is our recommendation, it's our blueprint. Everything is repetitive, but these two paths that I showed you could be repetitive if your repository is CMIS, for example, as I said. So yeah, you can slightly change it if you don't need the extract or the transform data because you want to run it everything in a row. That could be fine. We rather wanted to run the status separately and eventually being able to see what happened with this intermediate data. That is, it's not a product, but it's a blueprint that, according to our experience, we recommend and we believe it's a good approach to migrate content. Right, so in terms of conclusions, yeah, you should take migration seriously. You should distribute duties and responsibility, not having a Java class that will do every single thing. When you are going to migrate content, don't assume that everything is going to be smooth. You will have problems, because if you, at the beginning of the migration project, you have this assumption, your life is going to be better, you will sleep much better. Try to log any errors you may have. Of course, you can rely on open source technology, and you can follow our architectural advice. In terms of improvements, so, well, you can add data streaming capabilities for doing the migration more smooth, more incremental, and the repetitive parts you can apply containerization and virtualization to have it at a single box that you just spin up, code your 2 or 3 ad hoc services that you need to, and then you have your migration architecture ready to boom. So that's it. I think I took a bit longer than expected, but if you have some questions, yep.
In your experience, how with this environment, with this platform, is managed the flow of information? Let me do an example. If you have to migrate 1 million of documents, you probably, it's not the best approach to do it one by one. You should manage a stream of information that starts from the source and to the end, let me say. So how is managed that stream? Because in the ETL framework, it's quite different, the management.
Yeah, you for example, for this case, that depends on your data size, of course. But the way we normally do it is for chunks, for main folders. So you don't do it everything in a row, So you either configure a list of big chunks of data that you run sequentially, while this single sequential is run in parallel, or
but you can launch the ETL in parallel, and how can you manage the set of flowing documents? So can I say move 1,000 of documents per time, or is mandatory that you move one document?
No, you can come with the Spring. You can configure batches.
Because otherwise you have to move.
No, you can
10 millions of documents.
Yeah. No, but even if we configure by batches, we normally for the dry run, for example, we don't run everything in a row. We configure like partial paths. Okay. But yeah, you can configure batch sizes. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Is there any sort of, have you, in your experience, found any limitation in terms of what kind of data you can import into Alfresco? Thinking like about version history, permissions, audit trail? I mean, are there some limitations in your experience in what you can actually put into Alfresco in that kind of?
This is about content data, and that's why we are using the bulk import. When it comes to audit, you can use the similar approach, but of course, if you remember this part, the bulk import will not work for you. You will need to code your custom loader.
Okay.
Same with users, same with everything. But the important thing is, to have all the architecture in place and seeing this as a framework where you can just call these new services that you use.
The file system portal can handle versions.
Can?
Yeah.
To use a specific naming convention on a file suffix, you tell it that this file's version 1, this file's version 2.
But it doesn't support permission changes, permission definitions, modifications, right?
No, that would be
No.
you'd have to do
So
a
basically,
mock
our comporter will not support permissions. I think ACP supports permission to be transformed, but the bulk import doesn't support permissions, right?
So I think that's correct. Yeah, but you can have another change job that then applies permissions there.
Yeah.
Likewise, we actually ran this twice because it doesn't support associations either, links between things. So we ran it through to get the set in, and then again just for them to join the association.
Mm-hmm. So typically you configure those kind of chain of events in the Apache Camel configuration, or okay.
Mm. Yeah.
Actually, I've got a question.
Okay.
So we're using Peter Monks's bulk file rather than the one native one, and it seems to be kind of sometimes that one's better, sometimes this one's better, and then they do something. So they've forked quite a bit now, and they seem to be significantly different. Do you know why we chose Peter's?
I think you chose it.
Did I?
No, I don't know. It's what you say. It's true. Sometimes we use one, sometimes we use
Do
another.
you have a kind of reference implementation for this one? Or?
That's it.
Yeah, this is our reference implementation. Yeah, I wish I had time to do a quick demo and so on, but with the time, it was very difficult. Right? Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.